welcome back to the A2B podcast, your number one source for military entrepreneurship. Let's go! I am always joined by my host, the famous Barry Bull.
Guys,
famous
no.
or infamous?
Not well. I'll leave that up to you guys. You guys drop a comment, subscribe to the channel.
All right, guys.
That's my crazy Chief Warrant Officer voice.
You
nailed it.
We are following up in part 2 of the podcast. We have 2 Chief Warrant Officers, and we left the conversation. I want to get right into it. We left the conversation into something that I know I'm already going to disagree just by the way that they were talking about. You guys were saying about the bloom where you're planted, right? Mm-hmm. Or grow where you're planted stuff. You guys said that you guys like that term.
Not quite. I think I have a better one. Continue with your question.
No, go ahead.
Yeah,
this
is
what we're going to do.
Bloom where you're planted.
Yes.
We actually discussed this at the Armed Forces or Naval Services Officers Symposium. And someone had said something that I thought made more sense. Seek fertile soil. And what is, if you break that down a little bit, I think we all have a responsibility wherever it is that we're placed, right? If we're using the Marine Corps as the example, right? You've been placed at this unit. It's up to you to get out there, find value in the organization that you're now a part of, find value in the people that you work around, and surround yourself with goodness in a way that enhances your ability to be value added. That's, in my opinion, seeking fertile soil. It's not about just being put in this position and expecting, great things to happen. It requires a little bit of fucking, work on your end to get there. I think so. Yeah, seek fertile soil.
Okay.
Yeah, I would. I'm not going to retract what I said earlier because I still believe.
Jake's locking in.
No,
look at his eyebrows. He is locked, bro.
You got the wrinkles too?
Yeah. He is locked, dude.
Go ahead,
bro. That's so funny. No, so I want to stick with what I said earlier.
Okay.
I agree mostly with the bloom where you're planted.
Okay.
I like that you kind of expanded the thought there in the soil. Where I was coming from was more from a mindset type thing, right? Because throughout my entire Marine Corps career, all of my bosses, mentor or just plain boss, have said, nobody cares about your Marine Corps career better than you do. You need to seek these opportunities. And I agree with that 100%. But I did say earlier that the Marine Corps is going to put you where they want to. So give your input when it's asked for it and seek those best suited opportunities for you. But when you get there, for me, it's a mindset. You don't play the pity party. Don't play this miniature violin. Like, nobody cares. Have the mindset to take control and do your best with what you've been given. Because the Marine Corps is going to give you what they want. You need to do your best with what you've got.
If you're going to be a team player.
That's the flaw, though. That's the flaw in the argument whenever because obviously we're using this imaginary terms of the soil and we're using this imaginary terms of the bloom where you're planted. But I don't know if you guys know a thing or two about gardening. Right?
Oh, wow. Not a thing.
But some very basic things about gardening. If you rip a tree out, or if you rip a plant that is in growth, and then you put it somewhere, what are some of the basic necessities that you need to give it?
Some sunlight and
some
water.
Some sunlight and water. But based on what you were saying, it's like nobody cares. So that means automatically you're basically not putting any type of sunlight on it.
When did the monitor ever call you and ask you? Okay, so I'm going to eat my words. I was going to ask you, when did the monitor ever call you and ask you where you want to go? That actually happens quite often.
It happens quite a lot.
Occupational field specialists, right? They ask you for that and they give you guidance. But did your opinion actually matter?
No.
That's what I'm getting at.
The opinion didn't matter.
I would say it has for me at one point, right? I was given the option, not every time, right? And maybe speaking for Marines out there who have never had the opportunity to talk to the monitor about where they wanted to go, despite the road shows and things like that. But yeah, there was an instance in which I approached the monitor and he says, "Hey, I got these spots open. Where do you want to be?" And
is that the norm? Do you think?
I don't think so.
In the road shows, it is. If you catch them on the road show.
If 100 Lance Corporals sat down with the master guns, how many of them do you think had the opportunity to actually get what they asked for?
That's fair. I was a staff sergeant at the time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm getting at is like those of us who are in our shoes right now and listening and watching, There were a couple of instances, maybe as a gunny, as a chief warrant officer.
And-
I put my hand in the air and asked for Iwakuni, my first tour as a warrant officer. Guess what I got? I got Iwakuni. I'm talking for the masses.
And
Right.
I don't want to come off as though like the bloom where you're planted means nothing to me. I guess the point that I was trying to make was, the onus is on you as well. Okay, if you're
It
just
100%
bloom where I'm
is.
planted, like, oh, someone else is gonna fucking water me, someone else is going to give me sunlight, someone else is gonna do this for me, and then you're just sitting there on fucking receive mode, waiting to find success. It does require a little bit of leaning forward.
Let me put you a personal example. I'm a big fan of that. I don't wherever I go somewhere, and you know this. We've shared this story plenty of times. I was supposed to go on a meal. I asked to go on the somebody they needed to for a staff NCO to go on the SP MACTAB. I was like, I'll go to the SP MACTAB. Best decision I've ever made in my life. We know that we freaking killed it out there. We were freaking working all the time. I'm for that. But the problem that I see, the fundamental problem that I see is that shit freaking gets tiring. Because guess what? As soon as I got back, you know what I asked? As soon as I got back from that deployment, I was like, I was so confident in my abilities of what we just accomplished out there in the SP MACTA. I was like, put me wherever you need me. Wherever the most friction is, put me there.
You know what I think that says about you, though? You grind.
Well, I do.
You grind.
I do, but here's the problem, though. I'm going to tell you what the problem is. We need you to turn this place around. Cool. I'm all for it. Very first meeting that I have with the staff, with the rest of the staff NCOs, it wasn't even with the bosses, with my peers. Very first meeting, I was like, "What are we doing? Like, why are we doing this?" And I wasn't confrontational, I was like, "Explain it to me, please, because I don't understand the reason why we're doing this, right?" Oh, because I'm the staff NCO. I see. That's business as usual. And I was like, "Sorry, I wasn't sent here to do business as usual." She was a gunny as well. I'm not here to do business as usual. They sent me here to do a job. I'm going to do that job. Within a month and a half, I was out of that section. Within a month and a half, I was out of that section. So this whole bloom where you're planted, it doesn't apply for the grinders that go out there and go like, oh, man, you know what? I'm going to go there because it might work for the first time. It might work the second time, but after the third time, you're like, I'm going to have to deal with this freaking... And I'm rolling the dice. That's the question. Because we don't know who is buddies with the freaking chief warrant officer or with the OIC or whatever, because they served before, and then I'm the new guy with the new ideas.
Well, you're talking about, there's a lot of variables in there. There's a lot of cliques in the Marine Corps, and it does matter a lot who you know, right? But what I would tell Marines out there is, exchange your expectations for appreciation. And as soon as you do that, you're going to have a lot more of a positive outlook on things. But if you're a team player, dude, I'm telling you, nobody goes in the locker room and they go, guys, it's raining out there. The field is wet. It's just muddy. It's going to be really hard. We can't do this. I don't even want to do it. We're not going to win. So let's honestly just take the jerseys off and let's just park it. Nobody does that.
I get that. But here's my gripe. And why I've said this before. If that's the case, fine. Hey, we're gonna do business as usual. I'm good with business as usual too. Just let me know we're doing business as usual.
Yeah, let me know right now.
Don't tell me something else, and then when I'm executing your expectation, change the players on me, and change the things on me, because then and he knows. I'm gonna let you know very straightforward. I'm not the type of guy to just simply, I don't give a fuck about your rank. I don't give a fuck about none of that stuff. I give a fuck about mutual respect. And the fact that you're changing things on me based on other people's opinions, and because you maybe as a leader don't have the intestinal fortitude to approach those people, or those people gaff you off or whatever the case is, then don't expect me, because then that's not mutual respect.
Well, it's probably because they want to get promoted. It's
was
probably not because they don't want to piss that person off because they want to get promoted.
I mean, there was a couple of times, right, where, you and I had a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
If there was some, issues going on or whatever, you'd kind of give me a little bit of background on, and there's sometimes, I got to either pull you back a little bit or kind of give you a more strategic way
Yes.
to approach things.
100%.
Right? I think that people are naturally resistant to change. Right? When we're talking business as usual, what is business as usual? It's fucking comfortable.
It's comfortable.
People
Yes.
like being
At
comfortable.
all levels. At
At all
everybody's
levels.
comfort level.
Right? Everything can be anticipated. This is exactly how every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever goes. Someone comes in because they're sent to turn things around. I think that there is a strategic way to do it in a way that you can influence people to come on board, right? So, and how do you do that, right? You come in, you step, at least in my experience, right? You come in, you step back, you kind of see what
observe.
business as usual is, you observe things, and you start to implement, little changes here, little changes there, right? Maybe we're going to...
The OODA loop.
The OODA loop, right?
Yep.
And you got to get people to buy into the shit you're selling, right? I think that coming in off the top rope within the first week of being here to turn this place around, you're going to lose a lot of your...
You don't know this. Let me tell you the story that I walked into.
Okay.
First day back to 1st Supply Battalion. First day back from our deployment.
Mm-hmm.
First day, I'm not even exaggerating. First day,
Not second day.
not second day. First day. I really want to, because I want you guys to understand why was it that I did that. Very first day. Did I say that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So day one, not to repeat myself, Marine jumps off the third deck in the barracks.
It's tragic.
Whoa.
Yes,
Did they live?
he lived. Luckily, and I knew this Marine as well from before going on the deployment. That's what I'm walking into. You know why? This Marine was going through TRS. He was about to get out of the Marine Corps. First day back, this Marine jumps off the third deck. You know why? Just because he did not want to go back to that section.
That says a lot.
Whoa.
Just because he didn't want to go back to that section.
He couldn't handle a couple more weeks, a couple more months.
Couple more
Today
weeks.
had to be the day.
He was going through some personal stuff, and he was going through his things in the Marine Corps, and he did not want to go back.
What were some things they were doing? I don't understand.
Man, I'm telling you, this there was definitely some things going on. Like you could tell just by being there, you can tell that the people really didn't care. Luckily, those people are out there. So like those people are out of there, but they're still in the Marine Corps. That's why I know. Like we always talk about finding dinosaurs. Because we always be talking about, oh yeah, we gotta get rid of the dinosaurs in the Marine Corps.
You know what it is I see a lot of in this scenario? It's negligence in taking care of the Marines. They just
That's exactly
they don't
what
give
happened.
a shit.
Well,
They're selfish.
Yes.
They're looking after themselves.
Yes.
And that happens at multiple levels, whether it's NCO staff, NCO, OIC, whatever it is. There are just so many people that have ignored that individual so many times.
correct, and that's exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
And
He had personal problems. You
and
mentioned
then,
that.
Yes, and then I get sent there. Day one, I'm into that expectation, and that meeting. What was discussed in that meeting was, we need. It was like I think it was like a regular weekend. It wasn't even anything. Oh yeah, we need to know. Mind you, my platoon was around like 30-something Marines, 30-something, 40-something Marines. That's a lot, and that's it. It's just me. There's no other staff NCO. It was just me as a gunny and my sergeants. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, they pull me into a meeting. It was like, after this happened on like a Monday or a Tuesday. And after this happens, they call me in and they go like, oh yeah, we need to know all the Marines' plans for the weekend. Like a hard form. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why are we doing that? Oh yeah, because we want to make sure that the Marines are, taken care of. I'm like,
It's a facade.
Yeah.
it's a facade, and that's exactly why I was like, nah. I straight up talked to them. It's like, nah. Are y'all doing this for the Marines, or are y'all doing this to cover your ass?
That's
Right.
it.
Right,
See
that's
why?
it.
Tell me right now, if y'all doing this to cover your ass, I'll be fine. But they kept insisting that it was because they really cared about the Marines, and then their actions wasn't reflecting their actual words.
Yeah,
If
and in a lot of ways, I'm sorry to cut you off. In a lot of ways, on the heart form, it's like, what are you doing this weekend? On the paper, it says I'm going kayaking
Exactly.
and I'm watching football. and then there's an incident. It's like your heart form says
Exactly.
you weren't going to the bar.
Exactly.
You should have
Thank
been
you very
kayaking
much.
and watching fucking football all weekend.
Thank you very much. That was the way. It was to cover their ass and and remember, like if I walk in there and I do business as usual with those Marines, instead of me gaining reputation, I'm automatically gonna lose all of my credibility. You know, because the Marines, like even before me walking in there, the Marines that I knew, they were like, yeah, you know, we're just here. You know, it specifically in our job.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Go ahead.
The harp form is a good thing.
It is.
It is totally possible in every single case for a leader to care and do the harp form.
With proper execution, I think.
I mean,
think that-
leaders.
You as a
leaders-
sergeant major.
Leaders don't care, dog. You know how many lance corporals at the barracks laughing at you right now because all they got to do is tell you, "I ain't got a car." You believe it, and as a staff NCO or a junior officer, you go, "There's one less car I got to inspect."
I mean,
They're laughing
not-
at
you're
you,
not
dude.
wrong.
You really think Marines ain't got a freaking car? Come on. And it goes both ways. And all I'm saying is, when it becomes a check in the box, it's a problem.
Okay,
And
time out.
I think that's a point being made, right? Because
Right.
how many heart forms has a Marine fucking signed Daffy Duck on it, not their name, because they know it's not going to get read?
nobody's looking at it. Yeah.
I'm gonna call BS on that.
Let's hear it. I love
Because how many times as a sergeant major, a Marine got in trouble over a 96, 72, whatever, you know, because you got to do hard forms
it. You do?
for those dates. And then the very first question that you ask as a sergeant major is, let me see his hard form. Did you do that?
No, I never did.
There's got to be either first.
There are a lot of leaders out there that do that. I just
Let me
don't
see his heart
That
form.
ain't. That's not my vibe.
Because
My vibe is not pull the harp form. It's not.
Because now what you're looking is you're trying to eat every single fucking way for you to burn that Marine. Oh, well, right here it said this. Why weren't you doing what you said that you were doing?
No, I mean I think each case is you got valid points, and I know you've seen it. I know we've all seen it, but you know, for me that just wasn't. That was not even my way of thinking.
So okay, Marine got in trouble over the weekend.
I want to know the
what
whole
was the first
story.
thing?
I want to know the whole story.
Okay, ring. Hey, sorry, Major.
We got some role
let's
playing
go.
over here. I feel like I'm back on the streets recruiting duty. Let's role play.
We are role playing right now.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, Major. This is Gunny Ramos. I just wanted to let you know that Lance Corporal Garcia got in trouble. He got a I'm sorry, sir. So he got a DUI. He got a DUI over the weekend, and he's in jail right now because he slapped his wife.
Yeah, tell them about Jake.
Don't tell them my story.
How about that?
Hey, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You as a sergeant major right now, what would be the first response? Like if you're talking to Gunny Ramos,
Yeah, no, I'd say, hey, is the Marine okay? Was anybody hurt?
his wife
Did he
has
hurt?
a bruised face, sir,
You
and
know
he's in jail right now.
What? Yeah. Well,
This is
number one,
Severe.
I'm not going to be. These are scenarios where I really don't get that upset, and the reason why, your career is over. You're done. There is no helping you. You got a DUI and your domestic violence.
Yeah,
it means you're not going to be able
broke
to
the
handle
law.
it.
Yeah.
Legit.
Yeah. So like at that point, it's like I already know in my mind. However we get there, you're getting separated from. You're getting kicked out. So you know the situations that would be actually
Maybe like-
more frustrating would be actually lower infractions from a Marine where I knew you had a ton of potential and you just weren't living up to it.
On your friend's motorcycle, don't have BRC, and you rolled the bike, or you got a sprained ankle, so your career's not, you're not physically,
Yeah.
getting medically out, and what, BRC motorcycle, no license kind of thing is not a.
Well, it's like I always tell the story, right? So I was a gunny. I'm going up, I worked upstairs. I was a squadron guns.
You didn't answer the question directly, though.
Okay, but I will. I'll get there.
You didn't
Yeah.
answer the question directly.
I don't yell at people over the phone. I'm
But
not
it's
a-
the
I'm not a
gunny. Why the hell would you?
I'm not a telephone
But that's what I
tough
want to
guy.
know. But that's what I want to know.
Barry is not a telephone tough guy.
But that's what
if
I
I'm
want
gonna
to
yell
know.
at you, it's gonna be in person.
I kind of want to hear it.
I
wanna
want
see-
to
I
know
wanna
how
see
that
Barry in
conversation
full
went
mode,
with your
like-
gunny, because I know you received this phone call. I want to know
No, because
what
I'm
are you
subject
telling
of
the gunny.
reprimand.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's what I
no.
want to know. I want to know, what are you telling the gunny? Are you telling the gunny, hey, is everybody okay? Like, okay, so fine. What is the next action steps that you take as a sergeant major?
Yeah, is this? You said this is on a weekend.
Weekend, yes.
Yeah, so
Sunday night.
yeah, let's just make sure the Marine's okay. Let's find out how long he's gonna be. being held for whatever the case is. We're just that's a waiting game right there. Because that matters, right? Because that's going to trip a report. You're going to have to report that as in the hands of civilian authorities. That's a big deal. That's going to be something that is a reportable item.
It's a CCRI, like that's going up.
That's going all the way up, right?
Okay.
So that's one, but we're going to have to wait and see how long he's going to be in jail for. What's the situation with the family? How were they doing? Has anybody reached out to them? Then I'd be letting the gunny know, hey, this is what's going through my mind. We got a domestic violence incident. As a sergeant major, I am the direct liaison to Family Advocacy. Mm-hmm. They are a facility on installations that handles stuff like this. So I'm going to be reaching out to them come Monday morning. They're going to be talking to law enforcement. So we start getting all these people talking together. The DUI is pretty separate. I just want to make sure that Marine didn't, have any crazy injuries. Nobody else was hurt or injured, because that's something that's going to hit the news as well. Depending on how big the story is, have we talked to Comstrat? Is this going to be something that's going to hit the media? So I start talking to Gunny about all this stuff, and then it's basically, give me that information. I want to know what the situation is. If you can't get it, that's okay. I don't want you to go freaking harassing anybody. Monday, let's talk about it. We'll huddle up. If the Marine's out of jail, now we're drafting up a charge sheet, and we're going to go from there.
I would ask very
But I ain't
different
yelling
questions.
at nobody.
I would ask some very different questions, because gunnies, specifically high-ranking staff NCOs, I went with that story because I wanted to see what was your response as a sergeant major, and your response was very consistent with a sergeant major response.
Yeah.
I would definitely ask way more questions, because little did you find out that in this scenario, if you would have asked the right questions, you would have found out that he got a DUI because he actually fell asleep in the street parking lot of his place, because his wife was actually going to cut him, and he had to slap her away. He had to manually put her away while he got actually out of that situation. And then the wife was the one that called the cops, and then he was just sleeping in his car. And because once the police pulled up, they found him in the driver's seat of the car. Yeah. He was intoxicated, but he was just simply running away from that situation.
All that information is going to come out.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity to gather.
Yeah,
facts.
but if you already going with that mindset, what was the first thing that he said? He was like, "Your career is over. I'm not gonna scream at anybody because I already know that your career is over." That can't be the first.
No, that's not what I said.
That was the first. We can go back.
We'll go back because I said I'm not going to yell because I already know that your career is over. But I said the first thing I would say is everybody okay? Was anybody hurt? How's the family doing? Because that's important. You know what I mean? And at the same time, you're a mandatory reporter as a Marine. So, whether I ask the right questions or not, you're responsible to tell me the information that you have.
So I also think, you were kind of set up, right? You didn't know the second portion of that story.
Yeah, I set him up.
You knew exactly what you were doing. Yeah. In the manner in which it was presented, we can make the assumption that Marine's career is probably over. However, I think there's a period in which facts are gathered, right? The civilian side, they're going to do their investigation. They're going to take their interviews, and that's all going to be presented. So I don't know. I think I do respect at least the fact that it's like, hey, is everyone okay? Mm-hmm. Is anybody hurt? Let's get in touch with some of the resources that are available, right? I think that's what a sergeant major should be doing, right? So
here's the problem. At the end of the day, no matter how much information I get on the phone, there's nothing that I can do at that moment except collect information. And my point is, information will be collected throughout the whole time. But the story I was going to say, I was a squadron gunny. This is back in 2007, 2008 timeframe. And I was upstairs and I had a Marine come up there, right? I can see from across the hallway, the passageway there, this Marine is not shaven, okay? Black Marine, so I'm thinking maybe he has a no shave chit.
Yeah.
But he's just kind of standing there at a weird place in the passageway. So I go up to him and I'm like, "Hey, Brown, what are you doing up here?" And I could see he hadn't shaved. And before he answered the question, I said, "Hey, have you shaved?" Now I can clearly see he hasn't shaved. He's got a solid several days of growth on his face. I can see he hasn't shaved. He knows he hasn't shaved, but I'm still going to ask him the question. Yeah. Have you shaved? What do most leaders do? They're going to go up and freaking accuse you. Look at you. Look what you didn't do. You did this and you're late and you're this. I'm not here to convict you. Did you shave your face? No, I did not. Okay, what are you doing up here? I'm here to get my rifle card signed. That was like Red Star Cluster because I was the one that signed the rifle cards. It was me, the XO, and the Sergeant Major. The XO and the Sergeant Major ain't signing them.
You were a first sergeant, right?
No, Gunny.
Oh, Gunny. Okay, gotcha.
So not only was he wasn't trying to avoid me, he was coming to see me. Red flags, man. I said, hey, brother, go wait inside my office real quick. I stood there for a second. You know, it would have been an easy just yelling
Just
match.
light him up. Yeah.
You're a turd. You didn't shave. Go fix yourself. Boom. All I did was I walked in my office. He's standing there. I said, hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on with you? Immediately breaks down in tears.
Yep.
And he starts telling me all this stuff that like nobody knew because nobody took the time.
Nobody asked that question.
Yeah. And it's just like, you know, Messy Military Lawyer. She did this video the other day, dude. I loved it because she's like talking directly to like investigating officers that are doing like preliminary inquiries and command investigations. And she's like, a lot of times you go in there and you're leading the witnesses or the people of interest.
Yes, I want to talk about that.
Right? And she's like, you're asking pointed questions. Were you there at 8:59? No. Okay, what happened with the car door? Was it shut? Yes. What you need to say is an open-ended question. Hey, tell me about what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and let's back it up. Have you guys? Because obviously, as officers, you guys are in charge of doing command investigations, right? Like the CO can appoint you to do command investigations, right? Have you guys ever done command investigations?
Yes.
Okay.
I've never been asked.
Never been asked to do one. Okay. So
If you're Nick's XO, he's ready. He is ready to go.
Seeking new opportunities.
Bloom where you're planted.
Thanks, Barry.
so Jake, I'll go with you. The very first thing that you need to do is you need to afford an opportunity for those Marines to have their rights, their Miranda rights. You know, you need to read them their rights.
Article 31 Bravo.
Article 31. So, how many of those times did the Marines waive their rights? But you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Was there more often?
I would say more often than not, and I'm almost going to say 100% of the time.
Yeah. So they waived their rights. They were willy-nilly.
They're willing to sit down and have a conversation with me.
Okay, Marines, service members. I do not care how guilty or how innocent you are.
She does. We're your biggest fan, by the way.
I'm going to tell you something. I do not care how guilty or how innocent you are. You always, always, always execute your freaking rights. Never waive your rights, because you have no idea how many times have I seen Marines that I'm in a room, because obviously you know how it is. You go, whenever they go like, hey, you know, there's a command investigation. We want to talk to this Marine, and you need to come up there with him. Right? I'm sitting across him. The investigating officer is asking leading questions and just basically doing a layup for the Marine to waive his rights, so that way he can directly, because in fact, let's be honest, it's just more work for you.
Right.
You know, and the CO gives you very specific timelines that you have to meet.
Yes, it's 72 hours or something like that. There's
72
collection
hours
of information, and yeah.
And then if you remain with your
For
rights,
the PI.
For the PI, yeah, that's right.
and then if you remain with your rights, that now you have
right to a lawyer. The only Marines that are detailed legal counsel are the ones that are being court-martialed. But you can go to LSSS and seek legal counsel.
Sure.
seek legal advice. Do it. And the reason why I say do it is because you want to ensure that whatever piece of information you're going to give to them, it's been vetted and it's not self-incriminated. Because most of the time, it's not going to be the officer that's doing the investigation is not really going to be the one that's going to charge you. No. He's just there to gather facts.
That's right.
I think a lot of Marines, when they say, you know, they elect to speak to whoever the command investigator is, well, if I don't waive my right, or if I talk, right, or if I remain silent, I should say, they're going to assume I'm guilty. It's this opinion of,
yes,
if I remain silent, then the opinion
There's a stigma applied
there's
to
a
that.
stigma saying
For
that
a very good
he-
reason,
Like,
though.
hey, you know,
Well,
ma'am or sir, he didn't say anything. And by the way, PI for the viewers out there, not, you know, private investigation, preliminary inquiry, right?
right.
It's the first portion of just, like you said, collecting the information.
Yeah, that's super important because I don't care. And again, it's your right. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with request
Here's the
mass.
problem.
It's your
though.
right.
Here's the problem. Before the PI ever happens, most everybody already knows that something is coming down the pipeline. So whoever's involved, it's like we punted it in the stands, whatever the situation is, we're all going to be getting looked at. A lot of times I would be having a conversation with them prior to that PI even being launched. And I would always tell them every single time, if you're watching this out there, when you leave this office, do not try to get involved in any collusion. Don't be trying to
don't share stories.
don't share stories because
Nope.
I'm telling you, man, that stuff comes out. I have seen Marines in shackles because they tried to lie on this person and change the story. Make sure you say it like this. When you leave this office, please, for your sake, do not do anything weird. Don't. Just keep to yourself. That's it.
And that's I tell you because trust me, you think that just because they're a first sergeant, they're a gunny, they're even a sergeant major.
Yeah.
There are sergeant majors out there that are very emotional.
Dude, well, the guy who told the Marine, be a man and take the NJP, that is a violation of the UCMJ.
Yeah.
It's literally in the Article 31 Bravo rights, no pressure, no coercion.
Right.
But be
You
a
know?
man, take the
Be a
NJP.
man, just take it.
You pissant. You look at you, not you guys.
No,
You're right.
no. Let's
I
get
haven't
back.
used pissant in a while.
Let's get
so
back
that's
to you
good. We
guys.
get busted out.
I,
You know?
I think we covered.
Still
I
applies.
think we covered a good amount whenever it comes to the Bloom Warrior Planet, and then we deviated off.
Thank you,
on that.
Albert. God.
Hey,
And you set
you know
me
I
up.
love you.
You set,
I
he
love
set
you.
me up, guys.
He sets me up all the time.
I never
did I
do.
do it one time?
Nunca.
Come on now. But anyway, so let's get back to you guys. Obviously, we have two very different whenever it comes to moving forward in you guys' career. Obviously, Jake, you're retiring. You are doing, real estate. So let's get back. Let's get with you. How has your transition been now that you took the full 30-inch step into transitioning out of the military?
That's a loaded question. How
is.
much time do I have? No, I'm just kidding. How has the transition been? It's been intimidating. It's been eye-opening, and it's been super refreshing. I haven't had a whole lot of time to reflect on it, so you're kind of getting the raw answer here. But I will tell you, like, the people that I'm surrounding myself by, like when I joined the Marine Corps, I joined to be like the best of the best, right? That's the impression that my brother was giving me about the Marine Corps, and that's what I wanted to be, so that's why I joined. And I will tell you that that's who I surrounded myself with for the last 20 years. It has been absolutely amazing. And everything that I've learned over those last 20 years has, I think, like catapulted me into doing what I'm doing with my transition and post Marine Corps. Like, it sounds so cliche. Everybody says, man, when you get out, you're going to stand out amongst everybody else. You know, the Marines, different breed. Nobody else is going to perform the same way. The work ethic, the commitment, that kind of thing, right? And it sounds so cliche, but it's like, it's 100% fact. Like, that's how I feel. Like, the drive, the work ethic that the Marine Corps has instilled in me has catapulted me into this next career, and I'm just super grateful and super excited. And
Well, yeah, you look like you've been drinking the tears of PFCs for the last 12 years. Okay, but here,
bro, elaborate, because
okay, my question for you, Jake, that's not actually, he's never done that, guys. Razor water is strictly not PFC tears for Jake. But since you submitted retirement, have you like experienced anybody being like, oh yeah, well, you know, that's Jake, but he's retiring, so he's kind of like on the proverbial Marine Corps, sideline?
Okay, so initially, no. Like when I got approved for retirement, I was there was very much like, you still got a year and a half, bro. Like, your pack is still freaking on. Like, carry this pack to the last day. But But I will say that I have been super grateful to be transitioning into like away from the combat cargo officer billet on Essex, operational, gung 100 miles an hour every day, right? Well, most days. To like this new billet that I'm in right now has afforded me much more opportunity to have my nights and my weekends to pursue this career, have a little bit of time to make this transition. We got a lot of medical things to take care of, a lot of things
Yeah.
to just kind of like refining, finding out who you were as a Marine and who you're going to be as a retired Marine, that kind of thing. So yeah, this new billet has given me that opportunity, and I'm super grateful for it.
Let me add something to what Jake just said. This is the kind of person in the Marine that he is, okay? He's retiring. He's taking this new billet, N46 or N44.
N44, yeah.
N44. I'm fully expecting, right, that process of him retiring out of the Marine Corps, and it's got to be a pretty demanding requirement, right? It's got to be super stressful. He's still a driving factor, right? He's still coming on board the ships. He visited us on the USS San Diego to give us a courtesy inspection of the ship and all of our spaces. Like, man, this is a guy who's going to be transitioning out of the Marine Corps, and he's still taking the time to be a driving force and do what he needs to do on the Marine side. So, I mean, that alone, that's commendable in itself.
I appreciate that, man.
So when he talks about
Appreciate
not dropping the pack, he has not a fucking single ounce. So
Well, yeah, because you got
I like having guys on my sideline like this.
Yeah.
That's
No,
but that's
you can-
awesome.
We can hang out any day, man.
it's just real shit, right?
I appreciate that.
Because we get
Thanks.
to this point in our careers where it's like, no, fuck that. It's my time now.
Yeah.
I've given the organization everything that I have. This is my time with my family, with my, retirement goals and things like that. So, he hasn't dropped the back, and I know because we work together.
Thanks.
Yeah, for
Appreciate
sure.
that.
Now, I do have a follow-on question with you. You're obviously doing real estate now. Who is it that you're with again?
EXP Realty, Liberty Group, Renew Home Team.
Let's go.
Let's go, brother.
Hey, let's
Rah.
go. Let's go.
Rah.
Rah.
All right. So how do you feel that transition, like where do you see yourself within the next 2 years?
2 years. I actually haven't put the 2-year plan into thought. It's more like a 5-year plan.
Okay.
I am taking every waking moment as an opportunity to learn. I have been doing a lot of soul searching and really kind of just grinding, like we used that term earlier, man.
Yeah.
Where do I see myself in that time period? I see myself knee deep in educating Marines and sailors how to use the VA loan. I've gone an entire 20 years without utilizing it. I'm embarrassed to say that nobody along the way educated me on the opportunity.
Wow.
And now I've lost 20 years.
Wow.
And I know so many people, a lot of mentors in this industry that have seized that were educated early or had a mentor that knew what they were doing. And I don't want Marines to have to go through that. I don't know if you could see it. It's a bit of emotion. It's kind of a trigger for me.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit emotional about it because I lost a lot of time.
And a lot of money.
Yep.
And bro, don't get me started. So
Yeah.
I see myself in 2 years getting in front of as many Marines, sailors, airmen, soldiers, whoever, to educate them on the missed opportunity and seizing that.
When do you suggest that Marines start to, if they want to transition? Because obviously it's very scary. Transitioning is very scary. Regardless if you're going to do it successfully or not, in my opinion, based on the things that I see, you're doing it very successfully.
I appreciate that.
So if Marines want to follow your footsteps into transitioning successfully, when do you suggest that they start?
Whether you're getting out after an enlistment or an entire career, as early as possible. If your company gunny will allow you to sign up for TRS 2 years before you go, do it. You could take TRS as many times as you want. I learned Marines okay, we're going back to this mindset thing, right? So many Marines go to TRS without an open mindset. They go in thinking it's a waste of time. There are so many reasons to get yourself on, but you got to do it early and often. just go in with an open mind, go at the 2-year mark, go at the 1-year mark, go 6 months before you get out. You have no idea how many things are going to change in that span of time. So
Got you.
early and often.
Got you. I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now let's go to you, Nick. So obviously very different. You still have a good solid 5 years. We don't know what's
Yeah.
going to happen after those 5 if you're going to decide to stay. As a matter of fact, let me ask you. 5 years, you'll be at 20. Are you planning on staying in?
Yeah. So right now, I'm kind of teed up for LDO captain, right? So to go from a chief warrant officer to an LDO, obviously that's even a greater amount of responsibility, right? You're going from selected to chief warrant officer 3 straight to captain, and with that, I would incur another couple of years. So at that point, I'm locking myself into at least 22 years to be retirement eligible.
Is that what it takes? You have to be a chief warrant officer 3, not a 4, not a 5?
Well, so it's really it's a time thing, right? So the order says 8 years as a restricted officer, the warrant officer, chief warrant officer, combined 8 years before you're eligible for LDO captain. The Marine Corps has waived that down to 5 years to be eligible. And that just so happens to line up when most chief warrant officers are either selected already to chief warrant officer 3 or they're about to pin on. So it's really time based more than anything. Some communities you might see chief warrant officer 2s moving to captain, but 5 years at a minimum.
Yeah, I was razor close to submitting for warrant officer because of one guy, retired Lieutenant Colonel Nisley. And this guy was like, oh my gosh.
Motivator.
Motivator. He had the coolest car. He was like the coolest dude. You had when you became
We typically are.
Yeah, when you came, I believe it. Hey, when you became a CDI in the air wing, you had to get your interview with him, and he was like the coolest dude. He'd crush you.
Yeah.
But he was also like the coolest dude. He had like an old school Supra and like a Mustang. If he caught you speeding out there, you'd be standing outside wearing a sign with the speed limit in your Charlie's. You can't do that anymore, guys. Don't
You
do
definitely
that.
can't do that.
But I was this close though. I never did it.
Now, Nick, what does career progression look for you now that you are looking to become a chief warrant officer 3, become a captain? What does career progression look for you as a chief warrant officer?
Yeah, so how I break down these next 7 years, and why is it 7 and not the 5? Well, because you got to serve 10 years of commissioned officer time, which began at the chief warrant officer 2 mark, right? So I was at 12 years at chief warrant officer 2. I go LDO captain, I'm locked into an additional 10. So that's why it's 7 years. Career progression. So I've been extremely fortunate up to this point, right? When I was a brand new warrant officer, I was given the opportunity to take the SP MACTAF out, right? And I cut my fucking teeth on that deployment. You know better than anybody. Talk about getting punched in the mouth. But that was the best thing that could have happened to me. Made a lot of mistakes along the way. I learned a lot. I grew a lot. Yeah, I met a lot of really awesome professionals who I'm still super close with today. Came back from that, took a job at First MLG, took over for, at this point I'm Chief Officer 2, I took over for a retiring, 23-year major as the First MLG mobility officer. Made my way down to the waterfront, became a combat cargo officer for 2 ships. So up to this point, sitting pretty good. From here on out, it's I would probably like to work at like a headquarters Marine Corps level. Policy-wise, right? Because let's look at the difference between a chief warrant officer and an LDO, captain, major, lieutenant colonel. You're going from being a subject matter expert to almost a managerial expert within the community, right? You're impacting policy. You're impacting manpower management within the community.
That headquarters Marine Corps level, at massive levels.
And you're forecasting our transportation and distribution requirements far and well into the future. You're talking about, new LPD ships and new sources and modes of transportation that we can maximize, policy decision making and things like that. So I think that's where I would ultimately like to be. I think my days of working at the regiment, battalion level, strapping cargo and actually moving things, it's probably coming to an end. As fun as it was, I think now I just have an opportunity to make a greater impact for that next generation of Marines throughout the Marine Corps, and then especially within our community as well.
Yeah,
This guy's going to make it. He's going to be the top lieutenant colonel LDO
Yeah,
in our. There
I
are
think so,
5
too.
lieutenant colonels in our MOS, and he's going to be one of them here
I
real
think
shortly.
so. I think so.
You
too.
so
Thanks,
you
Jake.
you start out as a warrant officer one. How long do you stay in that rank and that grade? And what are some things you can't do? Like you can't do promotions and stuff, right? Is that,
Yeah, exactly. That's a good question. So, warrant officer is a probationary pay grade, right? So there's an 18-month period in which you're essentially being observed as an officer. You're appointed at TBS. 18 months later, you do well, right? You're no adverse
Yeah,
material,
you're staying out of
nothing
trouble,
like you're staying out of
essentially, right,
trouble. And you have the confidence of your boss. You'll pin on Chief Warrant Officer 2 18 months later. And I'm sorry, the second part of your question
Yeah,
was,
what can you not do? Like promotions, I know you can't.
So you're not a commissioned officer at that point. You're appointed by the Secretary of the Navy, and it's not until you pin on Chief Warrant Officer 2 that you are commissioned. So now you could administer reenlistments. You could be, a promoting officer, which is always, awesome. I think it's a great time, and it's an honor anytime, a Marine will ask you to be their promoting officer or to reenlist them and things like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say? And we're wrapping up here because I know you got to take off. When a Marine comes up to you guys for advice, where there'll be life advice, where there'll be career advice, what is that number one piece of advice that you guys always revert to Marines in order for them to prosper in life and in order for them to prosper in their careers? Jake.
Okay. Sorry.
He's got an answer.
I
you ready?
was on it. The best piece of advice I could give to any Marine is invest in yourself. 100%, right? Think about every single day, whether you're going to work or you're for your family, your kids, or whatever the situation is. Invest in yourself first, right? And how do you do that? I always like to reference. I'm a big baseball fan, so I like to make baseball references.
Dodgers.
Chicago
Let's
Cubs.
go.
Yeah, go Dodgers.
Boy, get
we're
out
not,
of here.
that's
Bro,
a whole other
come on
fucking
now.
episode.
Get it.
Yeah.
Dodgers.
We'll talk about
Your
that another
$900
time.
Shohei Ohtani baseball
Yeah.
tickets,
It's nice to be rich.
bro.
But no, invest in yourself. And so what does that mean? Every single day, it's about getting base hits. Let's make some progress every single day on yourself, whether you're taking college classes or you're taking an opportunity to get in the gym or PT a little bit, or you're reading, or you're connecting with people, you're finding opportunities to network and build yourself up. So invest in yourself, and the earlier that you do that, the more likely I think you are to sustain it. I've met staff and COs that have been in for, even officers been in for a long period of time, and they become so committed to the Marine Corps that they've completely forgotten about themselves. They've forgotten about their families.
Yes.
And they're in a very difficult place. So much so that nothing else fucking matters. Nothing else matters except the Marine Corps. But one day you're going to take the uniform off, and you want to take it off, hang it up, and be in a better position than you were when you first started. So invest in yourself. Do it now. Start now. You'll be happy about it later.
It's funny that Nick says that. It's funny you say that, Nick, because it's like it's getting ready to hit you.
Mm-hmm.
And what ends up happening is it's like the biggest PCS move you've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
And you really have a great appreciation for the relevancy and the credibility that your uniform and the rank on your collar gives you. You walk in a room, I don't even need to know you. He is a Chief Warrant Officer. Right? You're a Chief Warrant Officer. And then one day it comes to an end, and that's the best way I can kind of assimilate it is it's like nobody knows you, right? But the beauty of it is that's why we have this podcast, because look where you're at.
Right.
And you're surrounded again. Small Marine Corps, and it's a small world.
Bro, it is.
And but it does. It comes to a close, and there's a lot of greatness to it, but it is scary.
Yeah.
It's super scary. I have learned so much more about myself as I'm imagining myself without the uniform. The last 6 to 12 months, so much personal growth.
Yeah.
Because of everything you just mentioned.
Yeah, and I've seen it, Jake. I'll be honest with you. I've seen the stuff before I joined the team, or some of the things and then now winning, rookie realtor of the year for the Liberty Group. It's literally the amount of work that you put into your personal growth that is demonstrated there. But most importantly, and this is something that I feel that a lot of people, and I know you're centered in it, and that's why I really like it, and that's why I was like, man, like, let's do the podcast, let's do stuff together, is because I'm centered. I hate realtors that go with their production. I closed, 11 homes, and I did a CGI, of gross income of like $11 million. Bro, that means nothing.
Right.
You talk to a civilian, that means absolutely zero. If you talk to a person that you're trying to sell a home, it's like, you're going to look selfish. But whenever you relate, and the way that I like to look at it, how many homes and how many people did you help last year?
Right.
And I know that's where you held centered at, just because of the answer that you gave. And that's the difference in between what really drives us as being what we do. Because we don't just do it as a number. We do it as in, like, we're passionate about this.
Absolutely.
Because we want to ensure that people don't make the same mistakes that we do.
100%.
That's exactly what's already made you successful, and it's gonna make goal in life is to make yourself the person you admire and give that person to the world. My business may fall flat, but one thing that's not going to fall flat is who I am
100%.
and the value that I'm going to continue to add to people, whether it's for free or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. And that's what makes people successful, because like you said, I was like, when you said that, I made $11 million. I'd be thinking, like, so you just do this for the money? You just want my money, dog?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to give you my money. I want to give my money to somebody who actually cares about me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it's all about.
Facts.
Yeah. Yeah, guys.
Okay, so hold on. One more question here. I'm sorry, Albert. Hands in the pockets.
Let's,
I got it.
Should we allow hands in the, because you guys do it. You're chief warrant officers. Everybody knows it.
bro.
Here, Sergeant Major, head of hill, or you flick the
Yeah.
cigarette off my
Coffee
chest.
in one hand, cigarette in the other.
And I'm like, sir,
Yeah. People almost can't believe what I, would let Marines get away with, especially being a prior hat. But the hands in the pockets, I have no issues with hands in pockets. So as long as you're not walking, just for the love of God, Marines.
it's weird.
It's weird.
It just looks. It's not natural.
What if you
It's not natural, right? Where you get? I tell my son that
You're gonna-
we're hiking on the trail and his hands are in his hoodie. Like, bro, what if that rock finds your face?
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
Just not while you're walking. Other than that, honestly, I do it. Not to say that, some sergeant major wouldn't be like, hey, sir, it'd be really nice if you didn't have your hands in your pockets. At which point I'd be like, Sergeant Major, it's kind of cold out here. Why don't you put your hands in your pockets?
Right.
Join
So
something.
for those of you guys that don't know, you are authorized to have your hands in your pockets in a field environment. Okay. Should they change the policy? Does it matter?
Well,
Is it unprofessional?
We're gonna have Chief Warrant Officer Garcia here, Captain Garcia here in the next couple of years.
Ooh, hope so.
Up there at Headquarters Marine Corps. And I
Changing
just got two requests. One, change that stupid ass policy, walking in the grass, and you gotta talk to the sergeant majors about that. And hands in the pocket. And the other request that I have for you is please fire the goddamn distribution management monitor. They suck. I told you here, you suck. You need to be fired and released.
shots
Hold on,
fired.
hold on, hold on.
Shots
That's what I
fired.
Hold on. Why
Wait,
can't we?
he got to leave. He got to
Okay.
leave. So
Okay.
I don't know that I can come through necessarily with either of those, but
I know. I set you up there. I set you up.
Albert sent me.
Yeah. You say that.
Hey, guys.
To turn this place around.
That's
awesome.
that's got to
Yeah.
carry some weight. That got to carry some weight.
No,
But-
that did sound nice though. I'd like to.
Captain Garcia.
That does sound
sounds
great.
amazing.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Sounds so natural.
Guys, we have come to a conclusion of this podcast. If you like it, make sure that you guys like, subscribe, and share this with somebody that you know this is going to bring extreme benefit. If you know of a friend of yours that's been thinking about going the LDO route, going the Chief Warrant Officer route, maybe even thinking about submitting a package, this is the podcast that you need to send them, okay, guys? So ensure that you guys like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and make sure that you guys go to Barry's page. And Barry, where can people find you at?
First of all, I want to say you should not have your hands in your pockets, but we should change a policy. And before
back to it. Oh my God.
before that, I think we should authorize walking and talking on your cell phone before we even talk about the hands in the pockets. But IG, Instagram, @bull5277, TikTok, @bull52772. Click the link in the bio. The call is free. The change will last you a lifetime.
Jake, where can people find you at?
Jake Mahaffey Realtor across the board, X, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram mostly.
Let's go. And you guys know, Nick, where can people reach you out? It's an email. Just send me. If you want to get in contact with Chief Warrant Officer Garcia, just simply let me know, and I will give you his
He only
contact
takes
information.
handwritten letters.
Yes, handwritten letters. Like message to Garcia, okay? That's what we're going to go with.
Typewriter.
Typewriter, okay?
After lights.
And trust me, I work with him, so he will pull out the red pen. Trust me, he will pull out. That's some of the conversations we have to have. I was like, sir, come on now.
No, seriously, send me an email. He'll give it to you. Let me know.
All right, guys, I will see you guys in the next one. Let's go.